Ambassador Chen Wei stood at the observation window of Earth's orbital station, staring at the vast darkness of space. Behind him, the holographic projector displayed the symbols of the Galactic Council. 3 alien faces looked at him with cold, disinterested eyes. The message they had just delivered made his blood run cold. But he kept his face calm and professional. "You have 30 days, the Vrex representative said, his scaled face twisting into what might have been a smile. Earth will surrender 40% of all agricultural production. Your military will be reduced to 10,000 personnel for peacekeeping only. Council observers will be stationed in every major city to ensure compliance." Chen took a deep breath. 15 years. That was how long humanity had been part of the Galactic Council. 15 years of being treated like children. 15 years of being talked down to by species that thought they were better, simply because they had reached the stars first. "Now this, and if we refuse?" Chen asked, though he already knew the answer. The Tal Shara representative, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light, pulsed with colors. "Refusal is not acceptable. 500 Council enforcement ships are currently positioned near your Neptune. They will ensure compliance if necessary." The third face, a Baroon with 4 eyes and gray skin, added in a bored tone, 23 species have received similar guidance in the past century. All complied. Your species is expanding too rapidly. Your colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan represent aggressive militarization. This must be controlled. Chen wanted to laugh at that. Militarization? Earth had 3 small research colonies and a few mining operations. The Council called that aggressive while they had thousands of worlds under their control. But he kept his anger hidden. "I will transmit your requirements to Earth's government," Chen said formally. "We will need time to discuss this matter." 30 days, the Vrex repeated. Not 1 day more, the transmission ended. Chen stood alone in the silent room, his hands gripping the edge of the console. Through the window, Earth hung below like a blue and white jewel. Somewhere down there, 4 billion people lived their lives, unaware that their freedom was about to be stolen. He pressed the emergency transmission button. Within minutes, every member of Earth's united government would receive the Council's ultimatum. Within hours, they would convene in Geneva. And then humanity would have to make a choice that would determine their future among the stars. The meeting in Geneva began at midnight. President Sarah Mitchell sat at the head of the long table, surrounded by representatives from every major nation on Earth. Military commanders filled one side of the room. Scientists and advisors filled the other. Ambassador Chen appeared via hologram, still aboard the orbital station. "Let me be clear about what they're demanding," Chen said, his voice tight with controlled anger. "They want us to give them nearly half our food production. They want us to dismantle our military. They want to put their people in our cities to watch us. This isn't cooperation. This is subjugation." General Thomas Harker, head of Earth's combined military forces, slammed his hand on the table. "We have 12,000 military vessels. Most are outdated, but we have them. We can fight." "Against 500 Council ships?" someone asked. "Their technology is centuries ahead of ours." "Is it?" Admiral Kenji Yamamoto spoke quietly from his seat near the end of the table. All eyes turned to him. He was a small man, almost 70 years old, but his eyes were sharp and calculating. "We've been analyzing Council military engagements for 15 years. Every battle, every conflict, every peacekeeping operation. Do you know what we've learned?" He stood and walked to the display screen, bringing up tactical data. "The Council hasn't fought a real war in 300 years. Their military doctrine is based entirely on intimidation. They show up with overwhelming numbers and species surrender. Their ships are designed to look impressive, not to fight efficiently. Their commanders are bureaucrats who earned their positions through politics, not combat experience." "Are you saying we could win?" President Mitchell asked. "I'm saying they expect us to surrender," Yamamoto replied. "And if we don't do what they expect, we might surprise them." The room erupted in arguments. Some wanted to comply, arguing that humanity wasn't ready for war. Others wanted to fight, saying that slavery was worse than death. The debate raged for hours. Finally, President Mitchell raised her hand for silence. "Admiral Yamamoto, if we were to refuse the Council's ultimatum, what would you need to defend Earth?" Yamamoto smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Madam President, I wouldn't defend Earth, I would attack." The room went silent. Everyone stared at the old admiral as if he had gone insane. "Explain," Mitchell said. Yamamoto pulled up more data on the screens. "For the past 8 years, we've been building a secret fleet. construction yards in the asteroid belt, automated factories on the moons of Saturn, ships that the Council doesn't know exist. We told them we were mining operations and research stations. We have 300 modern warships hidden throughout the solar system. 300 against 500, someone said. That's still not enough. Numbers aren't everything, Yamamoto continued. Our ships use technology the Council banned for member species but never bothered to check if we were developing anyway. Advanced AI systems for targeting and navigation, railguns that fire projectiles at 15% the speed of light, nuclear pulse drives that make us faster than anything in the Council fleet. We've studied their weaknesses for 15 years. They know nothing about our true capabilities. Chen's hologram leaned forward. You're talking about starting a war with the entire Galactic Council. No, Yamamoto said. I'm talking about winning our freedom. If we surrender now, we'll never get another chance. They'll control our food, our military, our cities. In 50 years, humanity will be nothing more than servants to the Council. Our children will grow up as second-class citizens in their own star system. President Mitchell looked around the room at each face. We need a decision. Stay free or accept subjugation. Those who vote to comply, raise your hands. 3 hands went up. Just 3 out of 40 people in the room. Those who vote to refuse and prepare for conflict. 37 hands rose. Mitchell's own hand was the last to go up. Then we're decided, she said. Admiral Yamamoto, you have authorization to proceed with your plans. But I want 2 things understood. First, we respond only if they attack first or if the deadline passes and they move against us. Second, if we do this, we fight to win. No half measures. Humanity either stays free or we go down fighting. Yamamoto bowed slightly. Understood, Madam President. I'll need 60 days to position our forces properly. You have 30, Mitchell reminded him. Then I'll work with what I have. Yamamoto's smile returned. Besides, I have a plan for buying us more time. The Council loves bureaucracy and negotiations. We'll give them exactly what they expect to see. A weak species trying to bargain for better terms. While they think we're preparing to surrender, we'll actually be preparing for war. As the meeting ended and people filed out, Chen remained on the hologram link. Sarah, he said, using the president's first name as he had known her for 20 years, are we really going to do this? Mitchell stared at Earth through the window of her office. Chen, my grandmother told me stories about her grandmother, about what it was like when one group of humans tried to subjugate another, about slavery and oppression. She made me promise that I would never let that happen to our people again. The Council thinks we're weak. They think we'll bow down like every other species they've bullied. They're about to learn that humanity doesn't kneel. They have thousands of worlds and millions of ships across the galaxy, Chen said quietly. Then we'll deal with that when it comes, Mitchell replied. But right now, 500 ships sit near Neptune thinking they've already won. Admiral Yamamoto is right. They never expect prey to bite back. Let's show them what happens when you corner a species that refuses to be prey. The transmission ended. In orbit above Earth, Chen turned back to the window and looked toward Neptune, invisible in the distance. Somewhere out there, a Council fleet waited, confident and arrogant. Their commanders probably thought this assignment was boring, just babysitting another primitive species until they surrendered. Chen smiled. In 30 days or 60, if Yamamoto's delaying tactics worked, those commanders were going to receive the shock of their lives. The Galaxy Council had made one fatal mistake. They had assumed that humanity would react like every other species they had bullied. They were about to learn that Earth was different, and that difference was going to change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Chen Wei carefully composed the message that would be sent to the Galactic Council. Every word had been chosen with precision, reviewed by linguists and diplomats to sound exactly right. Weak but not pathetic, concerned but not defiant. It was a masterpiece of appearing to surrender without actually surrendering anything. The United Government of Earth has reviewed the Council's requirements, Chen transmitted. We recognize the Council's authority and wish to comply. However, the timeline of 30 days presents significant logistical challenges. We respectfully request an extension to 90 days to properly organize the required agricultural redistribution and military restructuring. We also request negotiations to clarify certain implementation details. He sent the message and waited. In the council chambers halfway across the galaxy, the response came within hours. The Vrex representative looked pleased, his scales shimmering with satisfaction. 60 days. The Council grants Earth 60 days. Negotiations will begin immediately regarding implementation procedures. Chen bowed his head as if in gratitude. Thank you for the Council's generosity. Earth will begin compliance preparations immediately. When the transmission ended, Chen allowed himself a small smile. It had worked. The Council saw exactly what they expected to see. A frightened species buying time to organize their surrender. They had no idea that Earth was buying time for something else entirely. Admiral Yamamoto received the confirmation while aboard the EDS Valiant, one of the new warships hidden in the asteroid belt. The ship was sleek and dark, designed for stealth rather than show. Unlike Council vessels with their bright colors and decorative hulls, Earth's ships were built for one purpose: combat. 60 days, Yamamoto said to his command staff. More than I expected. The Council is getting arrogant. Commander Lisa Torres, his second in command, pulled up tactical displays. All assets are moving into position. The asteroid belt yards have completed the last of the automated defense platforms. We have 287 combat-ready vessels. Another 20 are finishing final systems checks. And Operation Broken Chain. Ready to execute on your order, sir. Yamamoto studied the holographic display showing the entire solar system. Red markers indicated Council ships near Neptune, still in their loose patrol formation. Blue markers showed Earth's hidden fleet, scattered throughout the asteroid belt, behind the Jovian moons and in the outer system. Green markers represented the network of weapons platforms, mines, and sensor arrays that had been disguised as civilian infrastructure for the past 8 years. The Council has been at peace for 3 centuries, Yamamoto said quietly. They've forgotten what war really means. They think overwhelming force is enough, but force without skill is just waste. They position their ships for maximum visual impact, not tactical advantage. Their commanders rotate every 2 years as political appointments. Their crews train for parades and diplomatic escorts, not combat. He zoomed in on the Neptune fleet. Look at this formation. Spread out across 1 million kilometers to look impressive. If they were serious about enforcing their ultimatum, they'd be in tight defensive clusters ready to move as a unit. Instead, they're sitting ducks. Sir, the intelligence reports show they're getting bored out there, Torres reported. Intercepted communications show complaints about the assignment. One Vrex commander called it babysitting duty and said humans are like all prey species. Big talk until the predator shows teeth. Yamamoto's expression hardened. Prey species. They really believe that. Good. Predators that underestimate their prey don't survive long. Across Earth, the preparation continued in secret. To the outside observer, it looked like a planet preparing to surrender. Agricultural ministers held press conferences about organizing shipments. Military bases announced downsizing plans. Cities prepared to welcome Council observers. But in hidden facilities, a different kind of preparation was happening. Every military officer studied Council tactics and ship specifications. Engineers worked around the clock on the final weapon systems. Programmers refined the AI combat protocols that gave Earthships their edge. Evacuation plans were drawn up for every major city and colony. On Mars, the colony of New Beijing began moving non-essential personnel to underground shelters, disguising it as expansion of residential areas. On Europa, scientists transferred valuable research to secure data vaults deep in the ice. On Titan, the mining colony started stockpiling supplies in hidden caches. If this goes wrong, President Mitchell said during a secure video conference with colonial governors, the Council will strike at our colonies first. We need everyone who can't fight to be somewhere safe. Governor Helena Vasquez of the Mars colony nodded grimly. We're moving 5,000 people per day into the underground city. The Council observers think we're just expanding. They have no idea we're building a fortress. In the asteroid belt, the secret shipyards worked at maximum capacity. These weren't the primitive mining stations Earth had shown to Council inspectors. They were fully automated construction facilities that had been building warships for 8 years. The Council's spy satellites had been fed false data, showing only mining operations and research stations. Chief Engineer Robert Chen, no relation to the ambassador, supervised the final checks on the EDS Warrior, the newest ship to come online. She's beautiful, he said, running his hand along the matte black hull. Stealth coating that absorbs 98% of sensor sweeps. Railguns that can punch through any shield the Council has. And the AI core that lets her think faster than any organic crew. The Council banned AI integration, his assistant reminded him. The Council banned a lot of things, Chen replied. They banned advanced weapons research. They banned rapid colonization. They banned any technology that might let younger species compete with them. That's not about safety. That's about control. Well, they forgot to actually check if we were following their rules. Far from Earth, in the cold darkness near Neptune, the Council enforcement fleet continued its boring patrol. Commander Thex of the Vrex hegemony sat in his command chair, barely paying attention to the displays. This was his third tour of babysitting primitive species, and they all followed the same pattern. Big threats, lots of noise, then surrender when they saw the fleet. Commander, we're receiving another transmission from Earth, his communications officer reported. They're asking for clarification on agricultural quotas. Thex waved a clawed hand dismissively. Send them the standard response. Tell them compliance will be verified by Council observers. I'm tired of these pointless questions. His tactical officer, a younger Vrex named Keth, studied the sensor displays with more attention. Sir, I'm noticing some unusual traffic patterns in the human system. A lot of ships moving between their asteroid belt and outer colonies. Mining ships, Thex said without interest. These primitives mine rocks. It's what they do. Yes, sir, but the volume has increased significantly in the past 2 weeks. They're probably hoarding resources before we take control, Thex said. Let them. It changes nothing. In 43 days, this system belongs to the Council, and these humans will learn their place. What Thex didn't know was that every one of those mining ships was actually a warship moving into attack position. What he thought was panicked hoarding was actually the final deployment of Operation Broken Chain, and what he assumed was compliance preparation was actually the largest military mobilization in human history. Back on Earth, Admiral Yamamoto received the latest intelligence reports. The Council fleet hasn't adjusted their formation. They're still scattered across 1 million kilometers running standard patrols. Their guard is completely down. When do we strike? Torres asked. Day 58, Yamamoto replied. We'll send another message asking for final clarifications on implementation details. While they're reading it and feeling smug about our compliance, we hit them with everything we have. That's cutting it close to the deadline. That's the point. They'll be relaxed, thinking we've accepted our fate. Their commanders will be planning their victory celebrations, and we'll be coming at them from 6 different vectors at once, moving too fast for their outdated sensors to track properly. He pulled up the attack plan, a complex web of trajectories and timing sequences. The Council expects a defensive fight, if anything. Maybe some token resistance at Earth itself. They think we'll try to protect our homeworld and surrender when they threaten bombardment. They can't imagine we'd attack first. They can't imagine we'd take the fight to them. Sir, even if we win the first battle, the Council has thousands of ships across the galaxy, Torres said carefully. Yamamoto nodded. 1 battle at a time, Commander. First, we break their enforcement fleet. We do it fast, we do it brutally, and we broadcast every second of it across the galaxy. We show every species under Council control that the Council can be beaten. We show them that these so-called superior species bleed just like everyone else. And then we see who else is tired of bowing down. In the diplomatic channels, the meaningless negotiations continued. Earth asked questions about agricultural transport schedules. The Council provided detailed answers. Earth asked about the specific duties of observers. The Council sent lengthy protocols. Day 58 arrived with a message from Earth to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Chen's transmission was appropriately nervous and formal, requesting final clarifications on several minor points of the compliance agreement. In the Council chambers, the representatives barely paid attention. Just another primitive species asking pointless questions before their inevitable surrender. What they didn't know was that while they read Chen's message, 300 Earth warships were already moving into attack positions around the Council fleet near Neptune. Admiral Yamamoto stood on the bridge of the EDS Valiant, watching the tactical display with calm focus. Around him, his crew worked in quiet efficiency. No one spoke unnecessarily. Every person knew their role. They had trained for this moment for years. All ships report ready, Commander Torres said softly. We have firing solutions on all targets. The Council fleet appeared on the display as red dots scattered across a vast area of space. They were running standard patrols. Their ships spread out in a formation designed to look intimidating rather than tactically sound. Some ships were 100,000 kilometers from their nearest neighbor. Their weapons were powered down to standby mode. Their shields were at minimum strength to conserve energy. They had been on station for 58 days, and boredom had replaced any sense of alertness. The intercepted communications showed crews complaining about the tedious assignment, officers planning what they'd do after the humans surrendered, and commanders writing reports about how smoothly the operation was proceeding. Status on the kinetic kill vehicles? Yamamoto asked. Launched 3 hours ago on ballistic trajectories, Torres replied. They're running completely dark. No power signatures, no heat. Nothing the Council sensors can detect. They'll reach the target zone in 7 minutes. Yamamoto nodded. The kinetic kill vehicles were simple but devastating. Solid metal slugs weighing 10 tons each, accelerated to 15% the speed of light by railgun launchers hidden in the asteroid belt. At that velocity, they carried more destructive force than nuclear weapons, and they were completely silent until impact. The Council's sophisticated energy weapon detectors would never see them coming. Fleet status? All ships are in position. Attack vectors Alpha through Foxtrot are ready. The Council fleet is exactly where our projections predicted. Yamamoto studied the display for a long moment. In 7 minutes, humanity would cross a line they couldn't uncross. They would be at war with the Galactic Council. Thousands might die, maybe millions before it ended. Earth could be destroyed. The colonies could be obliterated. But surrender meant the slow death of human freedom. It meant their children growing up as servants to species that saw them as inferior. It meant Earth becoming just another controlled world in the Council's empire, forever prevented from reaching their potential. Begin Operation Broken Chain, Yamamoto ordered. Across the fleet, weapon systems activated, railguns powered up, targeting computers locked onto their designated ships, nuclear pulse drives warmed up for maximum acceleration. The AI cores that gave Earth ships their edge began processing attack patterns at speeds no organic mind could match. Near Neptune, Commander Thex of the Vrex was reading another tedious report when his tactical officer suddenly shouted, "Commander! Multiple inbound contacts. High velocity. Impact in 90 seconds. Thex leaped from his chair. What? Where did they come from? Unknown, sir. They're not showing on any of our previous scans. They must have been running completely cold until now. Sound general alarm. All ships to battle stations. Raise shields to maximum." But 60 seconds wasn't enough time. The Council fleet was scattered across 1,000,000 kilometers, with no coordinated defensive formation. Individual ships tried to maneuver or raise shields, but they had been at minimum readiness for weeks. Systems that should have been ready in seconds took minutes because crews were unprepared. The first kinetic kill, vehicle struck a Talshara cruiser at 0.15 C. The impact released energy equivalent to a 50-megaton bomb. The cruiser's shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, offered no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The ship simply ceased to exist, transformed into an expanding cloud of superheated plasma. More impacts followed. A Vrex battleship, a Boran destroyer, a Council transport, boom, boom, boom. Every 7 seconds, another ship died. The kinetic weapons had been timed to arrive in a deadly rhythm, giving the Council fleet no time to react between impacts. Thex watched in horror as 23 ships vanished from his tactical display in less than 3 minutes. Return fire! Identify the launch points and destroy them. We can't locate the source, Commander. The projectiles came from too far away and they left no trail. Then the second wave hit. Earth's warships, invisible until now thanks to their stealth coating and cold running, suddenly activated their drives and weapons. They came from 6 different directions at once, moving at speeds the Council hadn't thought possible for human technology. The EDS Valiant led the charge from the northern vector. Her railguns fired in rapid sequence, sending solid projectiles downrange at incredible velocities. A Vrex frigate took 3 hits in 5 seconds, its shields collapsing, its hull breaking apart. Earth ships didn't fight the way Council species expected. There was no positioning for broadsides, no formal engagement patterns, no honor duels between capital ships. The human vessels moved like sharks, striking fast and hard before dancing away. They used the Council's scattered formation against them, preventing the larger ships from supporting each other. Target the command ships, Yamamoto ordered. Cut off their coordination. The Council fleet tried to organize a defense, but their command structure was too slow and inflexible. Orders had to travel up the chain of command, be approved by multiple officers, then travel back down. By the time a Rex admiral decided on a tactical response, the situation had already changed twice. Earth's AI-assisted targeting gave them a devastating advantage. While Council gunners manually aimed their weapons with computer assistance, Earth ships let their AIs calculate firing solutions in milliseconds, adjusting for every change in velocity and position. The hit ratio was 10-1 in Earth's favor. A Boran dreadnought, one of the largest ships in the Council fleet, tried to organize a defensive formation around itself. 3 Earth destroyers hit it from different angles simultaneously. Their railguns punching through its shields with kinetic energy the Boran hadn't designed their defenses to handle. The dreadnought's reactor containment failed, and the ship exploded in a brief new sun. "Sir, the Council fleet is trying to retreat," Torres reported. "Let some of them go," Yamamoto ordered. Not many, but enough to carry the message back. The battle raged for 47 minutes. In that time, 380 Council ships were destroyed, reduced to floating debris and expanding gas clouds. Another 100 were disabled, their drives destroyed or reactors shut down in emergency protocols. Their crews sat in dead ships waiting to be captured or rescued, barely believing what had happened. 20 Council ships managed to escape, jumping away to faster-than-light speeds. They would carry word of the disaster back to the Council homeworlds. That was exactly what Yamamoto wanted. Earth lost 18 ships in the engagement, mostly to lucky hits from Council energy weapons. Compared to the Council's losses, it was nothing. But each of those 18 ships had crews, and 234 humans had died in the battle. Yamamoto would remember every one of them. As the last Council ship either fled or went silent, Yamamoto opened a channel on all frequencies, broadcasting across the entire galaxy. Every Council world, every member species, every independent system would hear this message. His face appeared on countless screens across the galaxy. He looked calm, almost gentle, but his eyes were hard as steel. "I am Admiral Kenji Yamamoto of the Earth Defense Force. 58 days ago, the Galactic Council demanded Earth's surrender. They demanded we give them our food, disband our military, and accept occupation. They expected us to comply as every other species has done for centuries. They were wrong." He gestured to the tactical display behind him, showing the debris field where the Council fleet had been. This was not a defensive battle. This was not a last stand. This was Earth attacking first with overwhelming force and superior tactics. We destroyed or disabled 500 Council ships in less than 1 hour. We did this because we refuse to be slaves. We did this because Earth will never surrender. The camera pulled back to show the Bridge of the Valiant, with Earth's flag displayed proudly on the wall. The Council believes they rule the galaxy through superior technology and ancient rights. They are wrong. They rule through fear and intimidation, and today Earth broke that fear. We are broadcasting evidence of Council abuses, of how they exploit client species, of how they prevent younger civilizations from achieving their potential. We invite any species tired of Council oppression to join us. He leaned forward, his expression intense. To the Council leadership I say this: you mistook restraint for weakness. Earth has been patient. We have been diplomatic. We tried to work within your system, but when you demanded our surrender, you left us no choice. We will not submit. We will not bow. And if you send more fleets against us, we will destroy them too. The Galactic Council was in chaos. For 3 centuries, they had been the undisputed power in the galaxy. Now a species barely 15 years out of their own star system had destroyed 500 of their ships and made them look weak in front of the entire galaxy. The response from the 3 dominant species was immediate but fractured. The Vrex wanted immediate and total war. The Tal Shara urged caution and negotiation. The Barun were paralyzed by internal political fighting between hawks and doves. This division was exactly what Earth needed. On Vrex Prime, War Prime Kethrak assembled the largest fleet in hegemony history. 3,000 warships gathered in orbit, pulled from defense fleets, patrol groups, and garrison duty across Vrex space. Dreadnoughts, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels formed an armada that stretched across millions of kilometers. "We will burn their world to ash," Kethrak announced to his fleet commanders. "We will make such an example of Earth that no species will dare defy the Council for the next 1,000 years." His tactical officer, a younger Vrex named Shrak, raised a cautious claw. War Prime, the humans demonstrated advanced weapons and tactics. Should we not study their methods before engaging? Kethrak's scales darkened with anger. Advanced tactics? They ambushed a patrol fleet. That proves nothing except their cowardice. We are bringing 3,000 ships against their few hundred. Numbers will overwhelm any tactical advantage. Shrek said nothing more, but he privately doubted. The footage of the battle near Neptune showed human ships moving with precision and speed that seemed impossible. Their weapons punched through shields designed to stop anything the Council had. And their coordination suggested command systems far more advanced than Council bureaucracy. But Kethrak was determined. The fleet departed Vrex Prime and began the 3-week journey to Earth's solar system. As they traveled, more species throughout the galaxy watched and waited to see what would happen. On Earth, Admiral Yamamoto received intelligence reports about the approaching Vrex fleet with grim acceptance. 3,000 ships. That's approximately 10 times what we destroyed at Neptune. Can we win? President Mitchell asked over the secure channel. If they fight the same way they did before, yes, Yamamoto replied. But we have to assume they'll adapt at least somewhat. The real question is whether we can survive long enough to hurt them badly enough that they give up. What do you need? Every civilian off Earth, Mars, and the major colonies. If we lose, I want humanity to survive. We need the colonial ships moving people to the outer system settlements and the underground cities. And I need you to keep diplomatic channels open. Not with the Vrex, but with the Tal Shara and the smaller Council species. This fleet is Vrex, not truly Council. That division is our best weapon. Mitchell nodded. The evacuation is already underway. We're calling it defensive preparations, but we're actually moving 300,000 people per day. And Ambassador Chen has been in constant communication with the Tal Shara. They're not happy with the Vrex war plans. Good. When we fight this fleet, I want the galaxy to see it clearly. Not as Council enforcement, but as Vrex aggression. We need to break the Council apart from within. Across the solar system, Earth prepared for the coming battle. The civilian evacuation continued around the clock. Ships designed for cargo hauled families and children to underground cities on Mars, ice-protected habitats on Europa, and deep space stations beyond the outer planets. Earth's major cities activated defense protocols, moving essential personnel to hardened bunkers. The military transformation was even more dramatic. The asteroid belt became a fortress. Thousands of automated weapons platforms activated, revealing themselves for the first time. Mines drifted into position along predicted approach routes. Sensor arrays created an invisible web that would track every ship in the system. Earth's fleet dispersed throughout the solar system, refusing to present a single concentrated target. Small attack groups positioned themselves behind asteroids, moons, and in the shadows of planets. They would fight a guerrilla war, hitting and running, never presenting the massive fleet engagement that Vrex tactics were designed for. They expect to meet us in honorable combat, Yamamoto explained to his command staff. Ship to ship, fleet to fleet, like something from ancient history. Instead, we'll fight dirty. Ambushes, traps, false signals, anything that gives us an advantage. Commander Torres pulled up the tactical plan. We've divided the solar system into 50 kill zones. Each zone has automated defenses, hidden weapons platforms, and at least one attack group. The Vrex will have to fight through every kilometer of space from the outer system to Earth. What about the cyber warfare protocols? Ready. The moment they enter the system, we'll hit them with everything we've developed. Their communications use quantum encryption, but it's old. Our AIs have been working on breaking it for 8 years. We might be able to insert false signals, confuse their coordination, maybe even hack some of their ship systems. On Mars, Governor Helena Vasquez watched the last civilian transport lift off from New Beijing. We're down to essential personnel only. 10,000 people, all military or critical support. The underground city can hold 100,000 for months if needed. She looked up at the red sky, thinking about the battle coming. Mars had less than 100 military ships, outdated patrol craft mostly, but the colony also had the most extensive ground-based defenses in the system. If the Vrex tried to land, they'd find Mars was more fortress than planet. On Europa, scientists worked frantically to secure research data while also preparing for the worst. The Ice Moon's research station sat beneath kilometers of ice, protected from orbital bombardment. If Earth fell, Europa could maintain human civilization for years. On Titan, miners transformed their colony into a hidden base. The thick atmosphere would mask sensor readings, and the methane lakes offered unlimited fuel for ships that could refine it. If Earth needed to wage a long guerrilla campaign, Titan would be the supply depot. 3 weeks passed. The Vrex fleet crossed into Earth's solar system near the edge. far beyond Pluto's orbit. War Prime Kethrak looked at the tactical displays showing the small yellow sun ahead. Somewhere around that star was the planet that had dared defy the Council. All ships assume attack formation Delta, Kethrak ordered. We proceed at full speed to Earth, ignore the outer planets. Ignore the colonies. We strike at their homeworld directly. That was his first mistake. By ignoring everything except Earth, he left his fleet vulnerable to attack from every direction. The Vrex Armada accelerated inward. 3,000 ships in a massive formation that stretched across 10,000 kilometers. It was beautiful and terrifying, designed to break the spirit of any who saw it. But it was also exactly what Earth's defenders wanted to see, a concentrated target. They're maintaining formation, Torres reported from the Valiant's bridge. They're not spreading out or sending scout groups. They're just coming straight at us, Yamamoto smiled coldly. Kethrak is angry. Angry commanders make mistakes. Let them come. When they reach the Neptune zone, we activate the first trap. The Vrex fleet crossed Neptune's orbit. Ahead of them, space seemed empty. Their sensors showed some asteroids, some minor gravitational anomalies, but nothing threatening. They had no idea that 20,000 autonomous mines had been drifting in those empty regions, waiting for exactly this moment. The mines activated. Small fusion reactors powered up, driving the mines toward the Vrex fleet at high speed. Each mine was a simple device, a sensor package, a drive system, and a 5-megaton nuclear warhead. They didn't need to be smart. They just needed to get close. Vrex point defense systems began firing, destroying mines by the hundreds. But there were thousands of mines, and the Vrex formation was huge. Some mines got through. Nuclear explosions bloomed throughout the fleet. Primitive compared to Council energy weapons, but effective at these close ranges. 17 VREX ships took direct hits from mines that penetrated their shields. The fleet formation disrupted as ships maneuvered to avoid more mines. Kethrak's orderly advance became a chaotic scramble. All ships maintain formation, Kethrak ordered. These are just automated weapons. The real fleet is ahead. That was his second mistake. He assumed the mines were the main attack. He didn't realize they were just meant to disrupt formation and create confusion. While the Vrex focused on the mines, Earth's attack groups struck from 4 different directions. They came in fast, fired their railguns, and retreated before the Vrex could respond. Hit and run, strike and fade, never staying still long enough to become a target. A Vrex battleship exploded as kinetic projectiles punched through its engineering section. A cruiser tumbled, its drives destroyed. A destroyer went dark, its reactor shut down. The attacks lasted only minutes before the Earth ships vanished again into the darkness. They're using ambush tactics, Shrek reported. They won't engage in direct combat. Then we'll force them to, Kethrak snarled. All ships increase speed. We reach Earth in 3 days and they'll have to defend their homeworld directly. The fleet accelerated deeper into the solar system. Behind them, Neptune zone was littered with debris from destroyed mines and damaged Vrex ships. Ahead, more traps waited. The Vrex fleet limped toward Earth's orbit, bloodied but still dangerous. War Prime Kethrak had started his campaign with 3,000 ships and absolute confidence. Now he commanded 1,800 damaged vessels, and his confidence had been replaced by bitter determination. We've lost too much to retreat, Kethrak announced to his remaining commanders. Earth is 3 days away. We will reach their homeworld and we will make them pay for every ship they've destroyed. On Earth, Admiral Yamamoto watched the approaching fleet with grim satisfaction. The running battle through the solar system had cost the Vrex dearly, but they were still coming. Now it was time for the final surprise, the weapon system Earth had kept hidden until the last possible moment. Status on Project Heimdall? Yamamoto asked. Commander Torres pulled up the satellite network display. 200 platforms ready. They've been disguised as civilian communication and weather satellites for 8 years. The Vrex don't know they exist. And the particle beams. Each platform can generate a beam at 98% light speed. At that velocity, there's no defense possible. If the beam hits, the target dies. Each platform has enough power for sustained fire for approximately 10 minutes before the fusion reactor needs to cycle. Yamamoto studied the orbital diagram. 200 particle beam satellites positioned around Earth in a defensive sphere. Each one had been built in secret, launched as civilian infrastructure and maintained by personnel who thought they were managing communication arrays. Only a handful of people knew their true purpose. When the Vrex reach Earth's orbit, They'll position for bombardment, Yamamoto said. They'll think they've won. Their guard will be down for just a moment. That's when we activate Heimdall. Across Earth, the final preparations were complete. Every major city was evacuated, with civilians safe in underground bunkers that could survive anything short of direct hits from planet-killer weapons. The military forces that remained were ready for what would likely be the last battle of the war. President Mitchell broadcast from an undisclosed bunker. Her message transmitted across the planet and to every human colony. People of Earth, the Vrex fleet will arrive in 3 days. We've hurt them badly, but they're still coming. They intend to bombard our world as punishment for our defiance, but Earth will not fall. Our military has prepared for this moment. Have faith in them. Have faith in ourselves. We've proven that humanity doesn't bow to tyrants. Now we'll prove that Earth cannot be conquered. On Mars, Governor Vasquez activated the colony's ground-based defenses. Missile batteries emerged from hidden silos. Energy weapons powered up from underground installations. If any Vrex ships came to Mars, they'd face more resistance than they expected. On Europa and Titan, the remaining colonists went into lockdown, prepared to wait out whatever happened at Earth. If the homeworld fell, these colonies would become the seeds of humanity's future, carrying on the fight. But across the galaxy, something else was happening. The Vrex war against Earth was being broadcast in real time, and not everyone in the Council supported it. On Tal Shara, Elder Shimmer addressed the collective's leadership. The Virex are not fighting on behalf of the Council. They're fighting for revenge and pride. They've lost over 1,000 ships to a species they considered primitive. What does that tell us about our own assumptions? It tells us the humans are dangerous, another elder replied. It tells us we've been wrong, Shimmer countered. We've ruled through force and fear for 3 centuries. We've prevented younger species from developing their full potential. We've told ourselves it was for stability and peace, but really it was about maintaining our own power. The humans have exposed that lie. The debate raged through the Tal Shara collective. Some wanted to support the Vrex. Others wanted to negotiate with Earth. A few radical voices even suggested that Earth was right, that the Council needed to change or be abolished. Similar debates happened on dozens of Council worlds. The unity that had lasted 3 centuries was fracturing. Earth's resistance had done more than just destroy ships. It had destroyed the myth of Council invincibility. 3 days later, the Rex fleet reached Earth's orbit. Kethrak looked down at the blue and white planet with bitter satisfaction. They had lost over 1,200 ships getting here, but they had arrived. Now Earth would pay. All ships assume bombardment formation, Kethrak ordered. We'll start with military installations, then major cities. We'll reduce their world to rubble. The Vrex fleet spread out around Earth, positioning their ships for maximum coverage. This was the moment they had fought for, the moment of victory. Their weapons began charging for the first devastating volley. On the Valiant, hidden behind Earth's moon, Yamamoto watched the Vrex move into position. They're exactly where we want them. Activate Project Heimdall. Across Earth's orbit, 200 satellites suddenly revealed their true nature. Panels opened, exposing massive particle beam accelerators. Fusion reactors that had been operating at minimal power suddenly surged to maximum output. Targeting systems locked onto the closest Vrex ships. Fire, Yamamoto ordered. 200 beams of accelerated particles, moving at 98% the speed of light, lanced out from Earth's orbital defense sphere. At that velocity, there was no warning, no time to dodge, no defense possible. The beams simply appeared on their targets and began cutting through shields, armor, and hull as if they were paper. A Vrex battleship took a direct hit to its reactor. The ship exploded in a ball of plasma. A cruiser's forward section was simply erased, the beam cutting through the ship like a laser through tissue. A destroyer tumbled, its drive section severed by a beam that passed through it in microseconds. What is that? Kethrak shouted, watching his tactical display fill with casualty reports. Where are those weapons coming from? The satellites, Shrak yelled. The civilian satellites around Earth. They're weapons platforms. The Vrex fleet tried to respond, but the particle beams were relentless. Each platform could maintain fire for 10 minutes, and they were cutting through the fleet with systematic efficiency. Ships that had survived the running battle through the solar system were destroyed in seconds by weapons they couldn't see until impact. But the Vrex weren't helpless. 1,800 ships, even surprised and hurt, still represented massive firepower. They began targeting the satellites' energy weapons, reaching out to destroy the platforms one by one. It became a race. The satellites tried to destroy as many Vrex ships as possible before being destroyed themselves. The Vrex tried to silence the satellites while surviving long enough to regroup. That's when Earth's fleet attacked. Every ship that had survived the battles through the outer system, every militia vessel that had been held in reserve, every armed civilian craft that could mount a weapon, came screaming out from behind the moon and the far side of Earth. It wasn't a coordinated military assault. It was chaos. Small ships attacking capital vessels, civilian transports ramming damaged cruisers, mining craft using industrial tools as improvised weapons. It was desperate and wild and utterly unexpected. Admiral Yamamoto led the charge in the Valiant. All ships target command vessels. Break their coordination. The space around Earth became a maelstrom of combat. The Vrex, still reeling from the particle beam surprise, found themselves under attack from every direction. Their formation collapsed into individual ship-to-ship battles. Kethrak's flagship took hits from 3 different Earth destroyers. His shields failed and a railgun round punched through his bridge. The War Prime died still trying to give orders, unable to believe that his great fleet was being destroyed by the very species he had come to punish. The battle raged for 8 hours. It was brutal, desperate, and costly for both sides. Earth's orbital defenses were systematically destroyed as the Vrex fleet focused on them. Nearly 100 Earth ships were lost in the chaotic fighting, but when the sun rose over Earth's Pacific Ocean, the sky was clear. The Vrex fleet was gone. Some ships had been destroyed, some had been disabled and drifted as lifeless hulls, and 400 had retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speeds in a desperate flight from the system. Of the 3,000 ships that had entered Earth's solar system, only 400 survived to tell the tale. The rest were debris or captured wrecks. On the Valiant, Yamamoto received damage reports and casualty lists. Earth had lost 107 ships in the final battle. Over 3,000 military personnel were dead. The orbital defense network was destroyed. Every major city had damage from debris and a few Vrex shots that had gotten through, but Earth was still there. Still free, still defiant. President Mitchell broadcast from the ruins of Geneva. Behind her, emergency crews worked to clear debris. Above her, the sky was scarred but clear. People of Earth, we have won. The cost was high. Too many died defending our freedom, but they did not die in vain. Earth remains free. Humanity remains independent. We have proven that we will not be slaves to anyone. Across the galaxy, species watched the broadcast in shock. The Vrex hegemony, the most powerful military force in the Council, had been decisively beaten. Twice. The myth of Council superiority was destroyed, but Earth didn't stop there. Within days, Ambassador Chen transmitted a proposal to every species in the galaxy. It was called the New Galactic Compact.